are you okay?
I'm fine. Just leave me alone.
Babe, you're scaring me a little. Just open the door, okay? Em? Open the door. Open the door, Em. Em? Babe, just open up, okay? Okay, if you're in there, back up. I'm coming in. Oh my God.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a scene from Snowfall 2023, directed by Colton Tran. The cast consists of Victoria Morales as M, who you just saw in the clip, Anna Grace Barlow as Eden, Johnny Berchtold as River, Colton Tran, the director, plays Kit, and James Gaysfield plays Andy. Plot is, after a winter storm strands 5 friends in a remote cabin with no power and little food, disorientation slowly claims their sanity as each of them succeeds or succumbs to a fear that the snow itself may be contaminated or somehow evil. All right, so yeah, this was an interesting film, no less. And surprising to me was I don't know what the budget was, but Lionsgate isn't like some small time studio, so I mean they had some sort of budget to work with, but yeah, I don't know. What were your first thoughts on this going in?
Well, like I say, like just reading the plot synopsis, that immediately got me attention because I thought, oh, it's either going to go like a supernatural route or it's going to be some sort of psychological thriller. And like you've just mentioned, with it being from Lionsgate, which you know, is not, like you said, a small budgeted studio. It has some meat behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Has some real strong films in its pipeline and in the past. So I was expecting this to be a lot more bigger in terms of budget, in style and direction, but that's not basically what we ended up with.
Yeah, the group, of course, they come to this cabin. It's apparently owned by River's parents, so he comes there with them, and they're celebrating New Year's Eve. And we have the usual, New Year's Eve party shot or whatever, where they're all celebrating and have a good time.
Yeah.
But I start to, as I watch this, and you kind of hit it on the head a little bit there, is that this movie, it wants you to think it's one thing or another, but it doesn't really make up its mind what it wants to be. Like we see when they start kind of losing themselves to the delusions, and because the one thing I kept pointing out, which was really funny, is Eden, who apparently has like some sort of doctorate background, I guess. She's like, you can't go to sleep because once they lose the power.
Well, she's like a EMT. She's like a nurse. She's a nurse in training or something.
Yeah.
And she's obviously, throughout the film, she starts telling them about different things she's read about psychosis and different.
I thought it was kind of funny. I thought it was kind of funny because of the fact that she's like, you can't go to sleep because of hypothermia and this, and I'm like, yeah, but if you don't sleep, sleep deprivation is really bad too. So I was like, some of that stuff they were dealing with, I think, would be dealt with if you had not even slept for a few days.
Yeah, but if the film for me was this is a negative for me, is that the pacing of the film for me went very fast. It seemed to like you showed there, they had the party scene where they're celebrating for New Year's. Then as soon as, the power goes off and they hit the snowstorm, it just seemed to hit straight away that they were all starting to kind of go down this downward spiral. And for me, I thought it would have been like a slow burn, like maybe after 3 or 4 days, you slowly see them losing the minds. A great film like that is the one with Robert Pattinson and William Dafoe, where they're in the
lighthouse. Yeah,
the lighthouse. That for me was just brilliantly done and just a masterpiece in my mind. But I was expecting this to have that kind of vibe and go down that path.
Yeah, this movie suffers a lot from lack of character development, because you never really get any kind of background on any of them, how they came together. I know that one point, Eden's character is saying something about her mother and passing away of cancer or something, but like you never actually get any kind of backstory to that, and so we're kind of left with like questions about each one of them and what happens and why they're spiraling in a certain way.
And the last two characters, which was I can't remember, but he's the one who had the major psychological break at the beginning.
River.
I just found that quite a bit unrealistic, unbelievable, because he seemed to cause a lot of the chaos that was going around them.
Right.
And it was like I think the first thing he did is he cut the gas or the fuel.
Oh yeah. He went out to the car and he started sucking the gas out of the tank because he's like, we all have to die here. We can't get out, because he was convinced, for those that haven't seen this, that a government facility that was nearby was responsible for putting something in the snow, and they had snow cones made out of the snow they took from the outside. And so, of course, the girl we saw in the clip there, she's a hypochondriac as it is. So she starts thinking that, oh yeah, we had the snow cones and my stomach feels really bad. So River kind of starts this sense of paranoia, even though Eden's like trying to keep people level. Same with Andy, but that was the other thing too. Like, there's a struggle between Andy and River, and then one of them perishes. Of course, I guess if River hits the end, it's Andy. But we see M kind of react a little bit there, but for the most part, everyone's like kind of like, oh yeah, okay, it happened. Whoopie doo. Like I would feel like a massive amount of anger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know it wouldn't really solve anything, but I kept saying to myself, like, man, they should be like locking this kid up in a room somewhere until it's over. But because you said it, he was the one that was kind of instigating everything that was going on in the house. He was like taking all the food and stashing in his bag, and it was just a nightmare. Like he was really just crazy.
Yeah, like I say, that it's the pacing for me in the movie. Everything moved on too fast. And like you went from one situation to the next. What I do think is a positive is the way it did try to make you feel like it was going to go in a different direction and be more like a supernatural thing, because you had that moment with the snowman and it was getting closer to the window.
Right.
And then for me, the best scene is when he goes to get his coat, and you see the hand.
Yeah.
You see Kit go, and the hand comes underneath and grabs him.
Yep.
And the next scene, you see obviously the hitting the coats and the thinking there's something hidden, and it did make you think, oh, this is gonna go down like the supernatural route in the end, and that there is something hidden in the snow, and that maybe the cabin. In my mind, I was thinking there was going to be a reveal that underneath the snow and behind the cabin or underneath the cabin was going to be some sort of like, hidden graveyard or something, or like
it was really weird. Like I said, it has no real direction. Like it starts pointing to like different things it wants to do, and then like I'm sitting there saying, okay, with the hand in the code and the snowman thing, oh cool, we got like a supernatural thing at hand here. But then that kind of passes, and then we have the psychological aspect of it. But then I kept thinking, because there's a part again where early in the film, River's talking to Andy, and they're kind of talking about how River and Eden are best friends, but he has like these underlying romantic feelings for her that he never tells her, but that never gets explored at all.
Yeah.
So then I'm thinking, well, when River starts freaking out, he's going to kind of do this thing where he's going to be like a stalker or obsessive about her and all this kind of stuff. But that never transpires either. It's just kind of weird how it never really goes in one direction, which I think that whatever path it would have taken probably would have made the film better.
Yes.
Even at the end.
The director and the writer should have given the film more depth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I say, like the pacing, like you say, it's too quick. They don't really explore in depth who the characters are. You know, what makes them tick. You know, what secrets are behind them or anything like that. It's basically you get from point A to B, and it's too fast, and there's no in-depth. There's nothing that grabs you in terms of character or story. And the only thing that did grab me, like we've already mentioned, is this where you didn't know which way it was going to go. Was it going to be a psychological thriller, or was it going to end up being a supernatural horror?
Yeah, I think even by the end, I was kind of like, well, okay, so we got this happening. So was it really in their head, or did she actually kill everybody herself? Like it never really goes anywhere with it. So I'm like, what are we doing here? Yeah, you know, and as far as the acting goes, it wasn't like dreadful, but at the same time, I had a hard time connecting to him, and I think part of that's because of the lack of depth for the characters. Because even with M and Andy, who were a couple, the only time I felt like there was actually any real chemistry about, or at least how I actually cared about, is when Andy dies and Emma has this reaction.
I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, like you have already mentioned right at the beginning, with this coming from Lionsgate, you were expecting, I think, a lot more, not just in terms of budget, but style and acting. And for me, this didn't feel like a film that came from Lionsgate. This felt like a film that came from more of a low budget studio. Like it felt like an asylum film.
Yeah, and an independent film. Like it didn't seem like something from Lionsgate, and I was like, wow. You know, when it opened up, I'm like, Lionsgate, that's pretty good. That must mean it's pretty decent. And I'm like, yeah, again, I talked about how, you know, Aiden had flashbacks of dreaming about our mom, but that never gets explored, so there's nothing there with that.
Yeah. There was too many open endings where they begin to explore different directions or things within the characters. But then, like you've mentioned, they don't carry it further, and they don't explain any more detail. It's just there.
Yeah, and like even with River, when they first get to the cabin, you know, he talks to his dad, and there's some like bit of bickering between mom and dad, but then like you get this sense that River has like this strained relationship with his dad or his parents. But again, we never find anything more about that. We don't even hear from the parents again at this point. And supposedly they're supposed to keep in touch while they're there, and they're there for at least 3 or 4 days. There's one random guy they were talking via video, and he ends up there's a part where he kind of assumes she sees him on the phone, but it's actually the phone was dead and just more delusions. But yeah, I don't even know where he fits in all this.
Yeah, like even like you've mentioned him on the phone, there's no backstory with him.
Yeah.
Is he a friend? Is he an ex-partner? Is he a brother? Is he connected to what's going on? Is he behind, what the delusions or what's happening? There's just literally nothing to grab a hold of or to build towards. And the ending's quite, I think, a flat ending.
Yeah, I mean, I just when the ending happened, like at first I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is gonna happen. Then it happened a different way, which has a little twist. But it's almost like you did. It's not like you were shocked when it happened, or it didn't surprise you any. Uh,
Yeah.
but they didn't really like. I thought they could have taken that ending and said, oh, well, this person was responsible for everyone else dying. Like it would have been if they would have done like a whole massive reveal. That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Uh, but again, they're not really covering a whole lot of new ground here. We've seen movies with cabins before, uh, Cabin Fever, Cabin in the Woods, Evil Dead. Like it's all been done. This is the only difference is we've got a bunch of snow,
Yeah.
which again, like you have a movie called Snowfalls, and like when you had that early part where they're thinking maybe the snow is contaminated with something, it's like okay, well that's a kind of a cool premise if it was working, but they just never worked it in there, and it's
Like, yeah, I'm exactly the same. Like you see the title, the plot synopsis. This is
mhm.
why I suggested the movie because it grabbed at us thinking, oh, is it like I've mentioned a psychological thriller or a horror movie? And then I was even thinking psychological thriller wise, it's a bit like how Cabin Fever turned out to be, where was it something the government had brought in, or is the snow really snow, or is it some sort of chemical fallout, or
Right.
the horror aspect? Like I mentioned, I was expecting would I say underneath the snow like a mass grave, or it was like a cult, church or something in the background. But none of that transpired, but ended up really with a very flat, to be honest, disappointing reveal and film by the end.
Yeah. uh Yeah, the one thing I will give it a little bit of credit for is like the atmosphere, the shots in the cabin, the outside were good. I don't know how much of it was actually. You could tell certain parts of it was CGI, but the other parts I'm not sure. Like I don't know where it was shot. I didn't really look that up, but
Mm.
uh
The scene with the coat and the hand crawling underneath, I thought that was well shot, and I thought the CGI during that scene was quite well done,
yeah,
and it really grabbed us. And that's probably the bit where my eyes lit up, and I was thinking, oh, something really interesting is happening now.
you're
Well,
right.
now the plot is now starting to go somewhere, but obviously in the end it didn't. But
Yeah, I just and then somehow the power just miraculously came on at the end. So like,
and then a random police car turns up.
right, like somehow they just knew they were there. Like I don't know, it's really weird, but
Mhm.
yeah, I came out of that movie pretty disappointed.
Yeah.
I just there was like a lot of missed opportunities where they could have done a lot of different things in there, and they just Colton
Yeah.
Tran kind of missed the boat on that. His character was basically the fifth wheel, kind of, and he's like this comedic part of it, where he's uh, just kind of trying to keep things light within the storyline, but then he wanders off, which I guess for the plot it makes sense, but then like he never really gets anywhere. They have to go find him. That everything seems so cut off by the cabin. Like they don't really explore outside too much outside of the car and down the forest a little bit. They don't really go outside that anymore,
Mhm.
which I thought was interesting. But
Even like the reveal of how they found him in the snow seemed a bit out 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 there.
mhm,
Finding this random naked body lying in the snow,
right,
feeling you far too hot. And even like you said, with her in her knowledge studying, she could explain why he did what he did with
yeah,
getting undressed, because in his mind he felt he was overheated and too hot, so he decided just to strip off. And then
right,
in the end, he dies of hypothermia, naked, lying face first in the snow,
right.
which I found a bit odd, and I didn't even know was a thing that people have done before, if it is a thing.
Yeah, I meant to look it up just to see like what the actual reactions are to hypothermia or even sleep deprivation because when I was like a teen, I stayed up like 4 or 5 days straight with some friends of mine just to see if we could do it. It was tough as shit, but it's not really the safest thing to do,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But
Well, you do. when you're young, you do some stupid shit.
Yeah. You don't even know any better at that point. I didn't find out till years later. Like, oh yeah, you could really kill yourself doing that. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that was already bright of me, fucking idiot. You know. But
Well, we all do stupid shit. I've done stupid shit, so I get drunk and fall asleep while I'm doing YouTube and doing Facebook chats to friends and
yeah. So it was an interesting suggestion. I think this was on my list anyway. Like even before you it
yeah.
recommended watching it, but came out of it pretty disappointed. So out of a 1 out of 10, where do you rank it?
Well, I'm very much the same as you. Quite disappointed. Soon, I was expecting a lot more than what we got out of it. So, unfortunately, I would give it quite a low score. I'm just going to give it a 4 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty close. I'm gonna give it a 3. So you and I are about on the same page there with this. It's not something I'm ever gonna like go back to. I have no interest in it.
Yeah.
I don't really recommend it to anybody because I don't think anybody's gonna get anything out of it that they
we're
haven't seen
saving
before.
you. Me and DJ Nubis are saving you the hassle to have to watch it. So just watch this review and realize we've saved your lives.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully our next pick will be a little better than this.
Yeah.
But, so yeah. You got anything planned coming up for your channel or any reviews you're going to be doing?
Well, I kind of put me review page, Kevin Lambert Entertainment Reviews, on hold while I was dealing with some personal things, work-wise. But hopefully in the next few weeks when things settle down, I plan on doing my second blog, which is me franchise spotlight series, and the next one's going to be based on James Bond. And hopefully I get to go out and see a few films to review for people. And if anyone who watches this video wants to find me Facebook page, Kevin Lambert Entertainment Reviews, and wants me to review a movie for them or a TV show, just messages there and I'll see what I can do for everybody.
Yeah, he does a good reviews too. So anybody who wants him to check out something, let him know.
Thank you. Yeah.
For me, I know I'm going to try to get a couple of trailer reactions done. I know John Wick 4 trailer dropped, so I want to check that out. Also, maybe later.
For a good time watching that trailer. It's a great...
Oh yeah, well I know it's got a great cast as usual, so I'm really happy about that. I might be on with Rob tonight with Entertainment Nation doing the Godzilla stuff. He did say it could happen tonight, but if he's not still feeling well, it may not. So that's just have to kind of keep an eye out of that for you guys who are following Rob on there, his channel. Other than that, thank you all for checking out this review. We appreciate it very muchly. I am DJ Nubis. This is Kevin from KLE headquarters and the Cinematic Synergy. Thank you all. Take care of yourselves, and we'll talk at you later.
Take care, people.
You see me for